Do you ever feel like your big goals are just too overwhelming to even start? You're not alone. But what if the secret to discipline wasn't about tackling those big goals, but was starting with those smallest, most manageable habits? If you're new, you are tuning in to my series on discipline. And if you're not new, welcome back. It is so great to have you to continue this conversation around discipline and how we can change small steps, small things in our life to make big change without feeling overwhelmed. That is the big goal here, is to feel like you can accomplish these things, not feel overwhelmed, not get stuck in procrastination, and actually make the changes you want to see in your day-to-day life and change your life as a whole. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by your big goals, you have big dreams, you want to make some big steps, but it feels like you don't know what to do or how to get there, you're not alone in feeling this way. And that's where discipline really comes into play. It's those small daily habits that add up, they build change, they create sustainable change in your day to day life, and suddenly you're arriving at your big goals much faster. Like I've said in other videos, it's not about perfection, it's not about the finish line, it really is about the progress. So, breaking it down into how your habits and habit stacking can make such a huge difference for you to achieve those big goals and those big changes you want. We want to take it one step at a time, and I'm going to show you how to do that with all these small changes through habits and how you can implement habit stacking, habit tracking to get you where you want to be. So, we often look at the big picture. When you do a puzzle, you see the big picture of the puzzle. You don't look at those small little pieces. But we all know that those small pieces add up to that big picture. They create the big picture. And that's what we need to look at with our life and making these changes. These small little habits, even micro habits, are those little puzzle pieces that we add up, we stack, we put together to create that big change that we're looking for. So, why are these small goals so powerful? Especially when you're thinking about the big picture, you would assume planning big would be the most power. But realistically, those small goals and those small steps and the small habits are the most powerful to arrive at this big picture. Research has proven that we respond well to manageable and consistent tasks, like those daily routines, those daily habits. When we set small goals, our brain starts to get a sense of achievement. Because they're small, we can achieve them. With this achievement, we also get a sense of dopamine. We get that dopamine hit that we're all looking for, and they become easier to repeat and they become second nature. Start to look at your day to day life and look at these habits that you can put into place that can result in that dopamine hit while also leading you to reaching your big goals. The way I like to explain this is a snowball effect. I'm Canadian, I grew up in the winter, but when you think of a snowball, if you start with like a very small snowball and you put it in the snow and you start to roll it and roll it and roll it, it gets bigger and bigger. So the more that you do these things, the bigger that your tasks become. So it starts small with, let's say, making the bed in the morning. You want to become more organized. You want to feel more achieved at the beginning of the day. For me, when I first started doing this, I thought, how does this make a difference? It's the smallest task. It really doesn't add up to much, but it actually sets the tone for your day. And you see right at the top of your day, you've already achieved something. I'm sure as I'm explaining this, you're feeling inspired, but a lot of times these videos might inspire you and then make you feel like, okay, so now what? What do I do when I'm done this video? How do I implement this in my day-to-day life? I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want you to actually walk away from this video and be able to implement changes today. It's not about becoming a 5 a.m. person overnight. It's about using these habits to have more control over your morning and give you a bit more time to actually enjoy your day before work and everything else comes your way. Okay, so maybe you're not a morning person. That's not what you're looking to make a habit or a change around. Maybe you go to bed feeling overwhelmed or like you have too many thoughts. This is something I can relate to all too well. And one thing that has always helped me has been journaling and getting these thoughts out before bedtime. So, this is a great time to start journaling. I know I'll say this and I will continue to say it. But the best thing you can do before bed, if you deal with these feelings of overwhelm or anxiety and stress, is to actually write out all these different things you're thinking about. Even write them out as a to-do list if that's what you're always focusing on. So it's about getting into bed maybe 10 or 15 minutes earlier, pulling out a notebook, not your phone, but pulling out your notebook and journaling these thoughts, these anxieties, these concerns, or even these ideas so that they're not floating around in your head. And when you go to sleep, you can actually get a deep and restful sleep. This will not only help you night after night, but it'll start to create this routine of basically unloading your stress and your anxiety and realize a lot of times there's nothing you can do about it. But processing it, writing it out, and acknowledging it will help you the next day when you wake up to tackle your day with a positive attitude. If you've heard about habit stacking before, you're about to hear about it again. But I promise you, this is one of the best things that you can use when you're building new routines and you're trying to make some change in your day-to-day life. Habit stacking is basically just that. It's adding new habits onto a current habit, a current routine that you already have. So again, it becomes second nature and it becomes easier to accomplish doing without adding more of a mental load to carry day after day. So let's say you don't drink enough water. I think we're all aligned on that one. Water is not one of the easiest or the most delicious things to drink, but you already have a morning routine of brushing your teeth. What you could do is when you brush your teeth, add the new habit of drinking a glass of water right after brushing your teeth. It can be as simple as putting a glass of full water beside your toothbrush when you go to bed, so when you wake up in the morning, that glass is there waiting for you. Or you can just put an empty glass so you cues that signal to fill up the glass of water and drink it before you have your coffee and start your entire day. Habit stacking creates this chain reaction. Like I said, it becomes second nature and it becomes easier to start implementing these changes one after another. And you start to see a bigger difference in your daily habits and you start to feel that achievement and that dopamine that also reassures you you're on the right track and you're doing really well and you can celebrate these accomplishments. To keep yourself accountable, you can use something like a habit tracker, whether that's in your notes app or an actual app that you download. For me, I can't download any new apps, so I use my notes app and I just create a checklist of these morning habits, maybe my midday habits and my evening habits that I want to either stack or make sure that I'm staying consistent with. Once I complete that habit, I open the note and check it right off like I would with the to-do list, and I get a little bit of extra dopamine from doing that. And here's when the magic starts to happen. You start stacking these habits, creating new routines, and what ends up happening is you create this domino effect that leads to massive discipline. When you work on these small steps and you start to stack these habits and use these habits to create that second nature, you build the confidence, the muscle, and the strength to implement more discipline in reaching your bigger goals. For example, you are that morning person who is trying to get up earlier. Not only are you getting up earlier, you now also have the energy to do something in your morning. Maybe it's going for that morning walk or fitting the gym in. But most importantly, you're giving yourself more time every morning to feel your best, to start your day, and to look at it through a new lens and a new light of achievement, accomplishment, and confidence. Okay, for my non-morning people, maybe my journaling friends who are starting to implement the journaling at night, one of the biggest things you're going to see is you're going to start sleeping better. So if you struggle with sleeping, I've been there. I know this story all too well. Journaling and emptying your mind of all these anxieties and worries will allow you to actually get into this restful sleep because your mind isn't racing. So when you start having a more restful sleep, you start to feel better the next day. Your life looks better, everything feels more exciting, and that's what you really want to see with these small tasks, small routines, and small habits that you start putting into place is they have this bigger impact and this domino effect of life looks different when you're achieving things. And I promise you, after 2, maybe 3 weeks, not even, you'll notice the difference and you'll start to see the difference within yourself and your mindset. So my challenge to you is ask yourself, what is one small habit you can implement today to start making a change to reaching that big goal? Make it measurable and make it trackable. This is not something that we want to have as a 180-degree turn. No. We're not going from the 9 a.m. to the 5 a.m. wake up. It needs to be those baby steps, the very manageable steps, so it doesn't feel overwhelming and you're not setting yourself up to feel like you can't accomplish it. So instead of giving it like a general idea of, I want to read more, I want to read 2 books a month, actually break it down to day by day. I'm going to read 5 pages each day, or I'm going to read 10 pages each day. But you want to have a very clear and distinct goal for these habits and these routines and start to build for a bigger change. The idea is to make the habit so small that it feels impossible to fail. And that is how you build momentum. Whatever this habit may be, it needs to be very particular and specific to you. So don't ask your friends what this habit should be. Don't even listen to me, in all honesty. Design and determine this habit for you based on what your goal is, whatever you want to achieve, and start very small, day in and day out, stacking this habit, realizing you can achieve it. You will accomplish it, building up that confidence and getting that nice dopamine hit so you can continue to add in new habits and continue to reach those goals. We are reframing discipline to be something that isn't scary, that isn't a drastic change, but rather are these small steps, these small routines that you can implement day in and day out to see big change. Yes, we all have big dreams and big goals, but it should be about those small steps to get there so you can recognize your whole journey along the way. It's about these small, consistent habits, stacking these habits, and starting to see the day to day change, the second nature change, that you start to realize you can do these hard things. You can and you will accomplish them. And most importantly, you're going to build confidence, get that dopamine hit while you use discipline to create these habit changes to build the life and the dreams that you want to achieve. So start small and make sure that these habits are something that you can track day in and day out. I believe in you. I've been there. I've doubted myself. I've been a procrastinator. I've talked about that before, but these small habits, whether it is the habit stacking or just one single habit you want to put into place, can make a huge difference in your day-to-day life and lead you to living the life you want to be living. So if this video inspired you to maybe introduce a new habit, I'd love to know what it is. Let me know in the comments. Or if you have any tips or tricks that you've used to implement new habits to create these small changes using discipline to arrive at your big goals, also let me know. I think it's so important that we can learn from each other. Obviously, I'm sharing my experience, but it's so great to hear your experience as well. If you haven't caught up on all my other videos on discipline, there's a few now. I think there's like 3 or 4. So you can go back and watch those videos, and I will have more. It is not something we need to shy away from, but we can actually use and harness discipline to create the life that we want. So if you haven't subscribed, now would be a great time. I'm uploading these videos at least once a week, if not twice a week, along with some other videos and vlogs and different stories from my personal life so you can get to know me a little bit better. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one and to hearing how you have implemented discipline in your daily life.